Despite being a massive fan of Iyashikei anime and bringing them up on several occasions throughout various videos, I've come to realize I very rarely actually make videos talking about specific entries into this slice of life subgenre. Now that it's finished airing, I thought it'd be a good time to take a look at That's Journey, or Zatsu Tabi, whatever title you prefer to call it, because it's, for whatever reason, seemingly really underrated compared to the other Iyashikei shows that have come out recently. And I don't entirely understand why, especially because I think it largely does everything that one would want to see out of an atmospheric, laid-back, slice-of-life adventure. And that's what this is, an adventure, a journey. These characters, Chika especially, going around to various areas of Japan on journeys to see the sights, to see the scenery, the locations, the attractions, but more importantly to discover new things about herself and to get inspiration for her manga, because she is an aspiring manga artist. She won this prize in a contest and ever since has never been able to match that success. She's never been able to come up with a story that her editor likes well enough to actually publish. Whether it be a one-shot or part of an anthology series, she's never quite able to get the right ideas out there on the page. So on a whim, she ends up deciding to post on the equivalent of Twitter in this series, a poll for her followers to choose a general idea of where she goes to get inspiration. And that becomes the primary way that she determines where she's going to go on these journeys. And little by little, she ends up uncovering what she really needs to improve on in order to make her stories and her characters feel more genuine, more real, more like they're actual people with actual problems and actual goals and desires. And thankfully, that is something that is actually reached by the end of the show. We see Chika actually get something published, something that is successful, at least relatively speaking. Certainly, she still has room to grow as a manga creator, but we see some sort of payoff for her actually going on these journeys, learning these skills and tips from her mentors, from her friends, in order to actually grow as a creator. It is genuinely satisfying to see this, and it's something the show didn't have to do. You easily could have had the show end without actually resolving this and just having this vague idea of, oh, eventually she will get better as a creator, as a writer. But to actually have a tangible, yes, here is how she has improved. Here's all of the things that she's learned over the course of the series being put into this new story that actually works out and is successful. That is really satisfying. And it still leaves the door open for more, especially because the source material is not done. So they certainly could make a new season, and I hope they make a new season. But if we never get one, we at least have a satisfying wrap-up, a good stopping point for this story if nothing else comes from it. And again, it's something that didn't need to happen, and many people may not have expected to happen, so I am very appreciative that it actually did. Across these various journeys, we see Chika and her friends explore a whole bunch of different areas in Japan. They really do go all over, whether they travel by train or the Dream Sleeper all-night bus, whether they're going to the ocean or into a city to go to the top of a tower and explore more of an urban environment, or going to shrines, or going to see the sunrise on New Year's. We get to see a lot of Japan and a lot of genuinely beautiful sights. Everything you want to see out of an Iyashikei, with the calming music, the beautiful visuals and backgrounds. It is all there. Some of the visuals in this series can stand up there with the best of the best that Iyashikei has to offer. And the sheer variety in the locales and the types of scenery that we get to see is also worth appreciating, because not all shows do that. You might have a show that is set entirely in a countryside and you only get countryside visuals. And that's still great and it still looks amazing, but the fact that we can get a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different beautiful things to look at, varying from episode to episode, is something special. Simply put, going all over Japan, exploring the sights and scenery, having fun with the characters, and crafting a calming vibe while doing it all is exactly what I want to see out of an Iyashikei. Chika as a character, I think, is an easily likable protagonist, but I think the supporting cast all adds something to the dynamic when Chika is traveling with them as well. I especially like her banter with a lot of these characters, primarily Yui and Koyomi, because they are her friends from high school. Some of the dialogue they have when they're just talking, they're just having fun with each other, is really engrossing, even if they're talking about nothing. And that's how you know a show knows how to write dialogue. When characters can be talking about anything, even if it's something that doesn't inherently sound interesting on paper, then you know a show knows how to craft dialogue. Something I also really appreciate is a lot of the running gags in this show. One of the things that keeps happening whenever the characters try and go to a place is they kind of press their luck and they do something that will make it much more difficult for them to get there, not always intentionally, and then they'll finally get to this location they were looking forward to, this attraction, this place, whatever it might be, and it's closed. Whether it's closed for the season and it's something that they just didn't bother to check on, or it's something that it just took them too long to get there and they weren't thinking about when it would close. I like that that is a recurring bit and that it never feels depressing. It's not like, oh, I feel so bad that they didn't get to see this one attraction, because obviously they're going to see various other ones in that episode. So it's not like it takes away from the relaxing, calming, peaceful nature of the show because, oh, they didn't get to see this thing they were looking forward to. And besides, the characters don't take it that way. Eventually, it genuinely becomes something that the characters all laugh at when it happens, because of course it keeps happening. Of course this place is closed. Of course we got here too late. Of course we got on the wrong bus. It's fun, and the characters know to laugh at those little misfortunes and not let it ruin their entire trip. So all in all, because this show has very likable characters with strong dialogue, because this show gives us a lot of beautiful visuals, because this show knows how to craft a calming atmosphere, because it has variety amongst the various atmospheres and locales we get to experience. Most importantly, Chika does grow and genuinely develops her abilities in creating manga by the end of the series, giving the show a more complete feeling than it honestly had to provide us. This is ultimately one of my favorite shows to come out of this entire year so far, and certainly a strong Iyashikei for anybody who loves these kinds of series like I do to sit down and watch. But for whatever reason, a particular criticism has arisen, primarily having to do with the fact that the characters are going around to various areas of Japan and kind of showing off the things that you can do there, showing off the attractions, so to speak. Some people have taken issue with that, calling the show nothing more than a glorified travel ad. And I don't really understand this criticism because, one, it completely devalues how fun these characters are and how enjoyable seeing them experience these locales is. But it also kind of seems to miss the point of Iyashikei. Like, yeah, the characters are going to go on a journey and explore the sites and show them off. It sort of is an advertisement for these areas, but is that really a bad thing? You're getting to see these places that you yourself can go and visit and see for yourself in real life and get that relaxing feeling that you get from watching the show in real life. Why would you not want that? It reminds me a lot of the criticism that another Iyashikei Super Cup got about 4 years ago when it was airing. A lot of people didn't like that it was a show revolving around characters riding Super Cups, riding bikes. Oh, it's just a glorified Honda commercial. And my response to that was always, that is really underselling the series. And a lot of the shows at the end of the day have some sort of advertisement aspect to them. I mean, look at Gundam. Gundam largely is going to exist to sell Gunpla. If you look at stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, they exist to sell games, to sell cards. It's not unusual for anime to exist primarily to push something, to advertise something. And I think it's very strange that people specifically have those criticisms here and not with other shows in general. Like, if this is something that bothers you, you are going to be bothered by a lot of shows. So to specifically levy it against that journey specifically just doesn't quite make sense to me. And it feels like the people who have that criticism are kind of missing the entire point of this show. And it makes me wonder why they even bothered watching it in the first place. Not to dissuade people from trying out Iyashikei if they never have, but if that's going to be your reaction to a show like this, you're probably not going to enjoy a lot of Iyashikei and unfortunately a lot of media in general. Now, if the show was nothing more than an advertisement and the characters were dull and there really was nothing going on and the visuals weren't that great, sure, I think it might be a more valid criticism. But if the show's simply going around and, yes, in a sense, advertising these various areas of Japan that you can go and visit is enough for you to completely ignore everything else that's great about the show, then I'm not sure you were ever going to enjoy it to begin with. I thoroughly enjoyed this series. 100% has my recommendation to anybody who loves Iyashikei or anybody who is thinking of giving shows like this a shot. I know that these laid-back, relaxing slice-of-life shows are not for everybody. A lot of people want more going on. They don't want shows that they see as boring, but I would definitely implore people, give it a chance if you haven't tried shows out like this, because you may be surprised at just how much you get into a show like this and how much you enjoy being able to relax. 2025 is definitely shaping up to be the year of Iyashikei, and it really does make me happy to see so many great new entries for this subgenre come out with such frequency. And I really hope that more people come to check them out, given that so many of them are coming out at the same time. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and until next time, take care everyone. Look forward to the next video.